Well, mostly it's a matter of meeting old friends and renewing relationships with people we've known in public relations for a long time. So it's always good to see that, and I think that I learn something new or find an example of public relations practice that I can use as an educator every time I come to a conference. Well, my wife Lori and I spoke this morning to students also as part of the Grunig lecture on how public relations principles are still relevant today, even though they might have been developed 40 or 50 years ago. And the students are very interested in those principles. They've heard things that we've written about, and they want to ask questions. They're particularly interested this morning in the BP oil crisis and how the public relations team handled that, and they were actually quite critical of the way BP handled that crisis. I think the theoretical principles that scholars have developed 30, 40 years ago are only now being adopted by many practitioners. I think there is still kind of immediate preoccupation among practitioners that what their job mainly is to place news stories in the media and hope that somehow that persuades people to do what they want them to do. I've argued for many years that the role of public relations is more symmetrical. Its role is to give publics a voice in the management organizations, and that public relations should be a management function, not just a messaging function. I think the future of public relations are in social media because I think that some of these principles are more relevant with social media than they were with traditional media, because social media or digital media put control of communication behavior in the hands of publics. They have access to whatever sources of information they want, and practitioners therefore have to be engage more in dialogue, in more symmetrical communication, because publics will get information someplace else otherwise. I think it also gives public relations practitioners the chance to gather information, to do environmental scanning, to find out what issues and problems publics are experiencing and bringing up, and use that as part of advising management on whether its decisions are going to be sustainable or not. Probably not as well as I used to, but you can learn a great deal through the new media, actually. I do read academic journals of public relations, and I follow PRSA publications, but typically if I'm asked to speak about a new topic that I'm not terribly familiar with, I can spend a couple of hours doing a Google search and find out a great deal. So, for example, the topic of sustainability is very hot right now, and I was asked to speak about that in Brazil a month ago, and I learned a great deal just by scanning the internet. I think these conferences are very important for continuing education of practitioners, and for the student conference, for helping them to learn and get real-life experiences hear about real-life experiences from professionals.